Hello everyone. Today we will discuss about ecofeminism. To understand what ecofeminism is, we can look at the two words that join together to create it. Ecology, which is the study of nature and the environment, and feminism, which is the movement for the liberation and equality of women. At its core, ecofeminism argues that there are deep connections between how society treats women and how society treats the natural world. For a long time, traditional environmental movements looked at nature as a resource being destroyed by bad industrial practices. At the same time, traditional feminist movements looked at how laws, customs, and attitudes harmed women. Ecofeminism bridges these two areas. It suggests that we cannot fully understand or solve environmental destruction without understanding the oppression of women, and the reverse is also true. Both problems stem from the same root cause, a system of dominance, hierarchy, and control. To understand ecofeminist theory, we must first look at how systems of power justify themselves. Karen J. Warren describes a concept called the logic of domination. This is a structure of thinking that people use to justify treating one group as superior and another as inferior. In many societies, people are taught to think in hierarchies, meaning they organize things into a ladder where the items at the top are seen as more valuable than the items at the bottom. For example, humans are traditionally placed above animals and the mind is placed above the body. Ecofeminists point out that within these social structures, men have historically been placed at the top of the ladder, while women, children, and the natural world have been placed lower under. A hierarchy on its own is just an arrangement, but the logic of domination turns it into an excuse for abuse. It creates a rule that says the group that is higher up has the right to rule over, control, and use the group that is lower down. Under this logic, because Western industrial culture has historically viewed humans, specifically men, as rational and superior, it claims a right to dominate nature, which it views as irrational and inferior. Ecofeminism shows that this exact same mental shortcut is used to justify the subordination of women. Men are seen as rational and suited for leadership, while women are seen as emotional and suited for obedience. By exposing this pattern of thinking, ecofeminism argues that we must tear down the entire ladder of domination rather than just trying to change who sits at the top. We cannot simply put women in charge while keeping the same violent, controlling mindset toward nature. The structure itself is the problem. The second pillar of ecofeminism explores how our language and conceptual frameworks reinforce these power dynamics. Our society heavily relies on dualisms, which are pairs of opposing concepts that are not just seen as different but as unequal. Think about the following dualisms that are common in global culture: culture versus nature, reason versus emotion, mind versus body, and man versus woman. Ecofeminists notice a clear pattern here. The concepts like culture, reason, mind, and man are traditionally associated with masculinity and are highly valued by dominant social systems. The concepts like nature, emotion, body, and woman are traditionally associated with femininity and are devalued. This dualistic thinking shows up clearly in the language we use every day. We frequently use female terms to describe the environment. We talk about mother, nature, virgin forest, and land that is fertile or barren. We talk about humans taming, conquering, or mastering the wilderness. Conversely, women are often naturalized by being described using animal or plant terms, or by being told that their behavior is ruled entirely by their biology, bodies, and emotions, rather than their minds. Ecofeminists argue that this language is not accidental. By linking women to nature and nature to women, the dominant system makes the exploitation of both seem normal, inevitable, and natural. If a forest is just a passive object to be used, and a woman is closer to that passive object than to active culture, then controlling both feels justified to those in power. Changing this language is not just about being polite, it is about breaking the mental chains that allow domination to continue. Ecofeminism is not just an abstract philosophy about words and thoughts. It is also deeply grounded in the material world, economics, and daily survival. In modern capitalist economics, wealth is calculated by goods made and sold in factories or markets. This system often relies on two massive categories of uncompensated assistance: the ecosystem and domestic labor. Nature provides clean air, fresh water, fertile soil, and climate stability for free. Industries use these resources to generate profits, but they rarely pay for the true cost of replenishing them. Similarly, women have historically performed the vast majority of unpaid domestic work, including cooking, cleaning, raising children, and caring for the sick. This work keeps the workforce alive and running every single day. Ecofeminists point out that capitalist economies treat both nature and women's traditional labor as an infinite free supply of energy. Because this labor and these resources are not assigned a monetary value in a standard market, they are easily overexploited, degraded, and ignored. When environmental destruction happens, it does not affect everyone equally. In many parts of the world, especially in developing nations and indigenous communities, women bear the heaviest burden of ecological collapse. In many traditional societies, women are the primary food growers, water collectors, and fuel gatherers for their households. When a local forest is cut down or a river becomes polluted by an industrial plant, women have to walk miles further every day to find clean water and firewood. This extra labor leaves them with less time for education, paid work, or community leadership. Their health suffers directly from carrying heavy loads over long distances and exposure to environmental toxins. Therefore, ecofeminists emphasize that environmental degradation is directly tied to stalling of gender equality worldwide. You cannot fix community health or women's poverty without fixing the health of the local ecosystem. The material reality of women's lives is inseparable from the material reality of the natural world. Now that we have examined the problems that ecofeminism identifies, let us look at the solutions and alternatives it proposes. Ecofeminism does not just criticize current systems, it offers a new way of interacting with the world. The first major shift is moving from domination to interconnectedness. Instead of viewing humans as separate from and superior to nature, ecofeminism reminds us that humans are an intrinsic part of the web of life. Our health, our economies, and our survival depend entirely on the well being of the planet. We are not masters of nature, we are participants within it. This shift in perspective changes everything about how we approach environmental problems. The second shift is embracing an ethics of care. Traditional politics and economic systems often value competition, aggressive growth, and abstract mathematical efficiency. These systems ask how much profit can we extract. Ecofeminism champions a different set of values. It prioritizes cooperation, nurturing, maintaining relationships, and active stewardship of the earth. An ethics of care treats the earth not as a warehouse of dead assets to be extracted, but as a living community to which we have moral duties. It values local knowledge, sustainable farming, and community centered decision making. This does not mean rejecting all technology or progress. It means measuring progress not by how much we consume, but by how well we care for each other and the land. Ecofeminism finally expands our view of who environmental leaders are. For too long, global environmentalism has been dominated by wealthy, educated men from rich countries. Ecofeminism honors the vital work of indigenous women, rural farmers, and community activists who have been protecting their local lands for generations, often without recognition from global political organizations. These women are not just victims of environmental destruction, they are experts, innovators, and leaders. By bringing their voices to the center of global conversations, ecofeminism ensures that environmental solutions are fair, equitable, and sustainable for everyone.